We'll start at 4 Eastern in the game between Oklahoma and LSU. LSU 13-0, Oklahoma 12-1 on the year. This game is 4 Eastern on ESPN at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. This line sitting at 13.5, 14-ish. LSU obviously the favorite, over under 76. I said before these bowls came out, my line here was LSU minus 10, over under 69. It is, given where this game is and maybe some of the game scripts that I'm anticipating, I don't know if I necessarily want to bet the under in this game, even though I think there's a little bit of value. My whole point here is that I made it 10. I think LSU is going to win, but if it got to 14, I'm investing just in the value of the number on Oklahoma, which it did, and I played a little bit on the Sooners. I also think it'll be a great game to bet live. But before we get into any of that, we need your thoughts. We also need updates on Herrera. We need updates on the Oklahoma suspensions and all that, because there's been a lot of news swirling in this game compared to the others. So take it from here.
Yeah, a ton of news. And I think a lot of that news, I think we should start with the point spread. I mean, it opened up somewhere around your projection. And, I made it -8 for LSU, but it's been nothing but LSU money. Out of the gate, LSU dominating Georgia and OU going to overtime with Baylor in the Big 12 championship. There's been nothing but LSU money come in. And I just don't know if people are, and then the suspensions for OU. I think that's the biggest thing that's kind of driving some of this money too, is that, there were some suspensions related to failing a drug test. Offensively, that's running back Ramondre Stevenson and wide receiver Trajan Bridges. Stevenson is the big one because, they're already thin at running back, and Stevenson was an explosive back, averaging 8 yards a carry, and he had 6 TDs on the season. Defensively, they lost their top guy in sacks and Ronnie Perkins. He was 7th in total tackles on the team, but he was the havoc guy. Oklahoma's 10th in defensive havoc in the nation. But most of that number is fueled by tackles for loss. And Ronnie Perkins was 2nd on the team with 13.5 tackles for loss. So the loss of Perkins is huge. A lot of people point to the sacks. It's not even really the sacks. Ronnie Perkins was behind the line of scrimmage all the time, consistently. So that's not there for Oklahoma anymore. And that defensive number of 10th in havoc, that's not, that's not going to be the Oklahoma defense that's on the field against LSU. I think the question really remains, though, is can Joe Burrow be stopped? Because no matter what we say about tackles for loss and OU getting into the backfield, Joe Burrow has been excellent. The Heisman Trophy winner at manipulating defenses and getting rid of the ball and doing what he's got to do to get this offense down the field. So, OU speed D under Alex Grinch, were they really going to put the pressure on and come after Joe Burrow? Or are they going to sit back, keep some guys back? How are they going to deal with a healthy amount of explosive plays that are going to come their way? I think there's 2 huge keys to this game. And you mentioned injury. There's 2 monster keys to this game. And it's all you need to know for the total, and it's all you need to know for the side. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's mobility and Jalen Hurts' ball protection. So as far as Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, his status is just all over the place. I'm reading tweets this morning as we're about to go on and record this.
I've searched his name so many times this week on Twitter.
Yeah, correct me if you've seen anything different, but it's like not cleared to practice, just got off crutches. Coach O, there's a chance. Insmiger, Clyde will be there. What does will be there mean? I have no clue. Not available to the media. There's just kind of a circus on his status, and I just don't think people that are betting LSU blindly don't realize that Edwards-Helaire caught 50 balls from Burrow in the backfield. He is the safety blanket. He is the third down guy. He is 1,200 yards rushing. The LSU offense, as much as we have a Heisman with Joe Burrow, if he's not there for running back, the backup is Tyrion Davis-Price. He just has 10 catches out of the backfield, only 270 yards rushing. That's a big drop-off in production at running back, and that's going to affect them on third down. I'm not sure if that, says more about the under than it does about the side. But as far as, LSU goes, that's it. That's the reason why I am willing to wait as long as possible to see. I've already got one unit bet in on Oklahoma at 14 because just number alone, it should not be that high. I don't care about the suspensions. But I am willing to wait before I invest more to see if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the field, practicing. Is he mobile? I want more information. As far as what the second part that I mentioned, Jalen Hurts ball protection. I think of everything that I hear, every other media besides you and me, no one's covering the biggest handicap, which is Jalen Hurts' ball protection. If he has a clean box score, he's one of the most efficient and the best success rate offenses in the nation with OU. If he has a clean box score, he's going to be able to put up points. LSU's 13th in havoc. So let's look at that 13th in havoc. What does that actually mean for LSU? That number comes from being the best in the nation at pass breakups and passes defensed. One key element of havoc that I did not mention there is forced fumbles. So LSU, excellent at pass breakups, excellent at passes defense, top 10 in interceptions. LSU has only forced 5 fumbles this season. That's it. They're 118th in the nation in forcing fumbles. 5 fumbles. You know who they're neighbors with in that department? Rice and UTEP. And if Oklahoma's biggest problem is that Jalen Hurts can't hold on to the ball, Minor Nation. If Jalen Hurts' biggest problem is that he can't hold on to the ball, he's taking on a defense that doesn't strip it 5 times the entire season for a team that's in the playoff. So a bet on Oklahoma to cover and taking the 14 comes down to 2 things. Clyde Edwards-Helaire not playing, or his mobility is just not there, and he's not 100% for this game, and a clean Jalen Hurts box score. You get those 2 things, OU is going to cover this game, and I have a chance to compete.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is why I make this total 69, but if you have some injuries at backs, you don't have Perkins. If any of these teams get up big, there's going to be other teams going to go fast, and you're just going to have more points. So I think and especially if Hilaire's out, like, you might get more passing than normal with all of these injuries than if you look at how much these teams pass. And look, I just keep going back to this, like that Oklahoma LSU game. It'll be a perfect live betting game if LSU goes up 14, 17, 20.
Right.
There's no reason why Oklahoma, can't put a touchdown on the board. You could buy some back. LSU scores, you could buy, and then but you could just, if they go up really big, you could just buy Oklahoma and keep buying Oklahoma. I mean, make sure you tune into the Action app, because this should be a fantastic live betting game. Anything else you want to add in?
No, I mean, the total, I make it 73.5, and you had it like what, 69, 70, somewhere around there. So, this thing keeps touching 77 and coming back down, but I just think LSU is not going to convert as many third downs if they're, as we mentioned with injury. But then again, you're right. If Jalen Hurts has a clean box score, they're going to be able to put up points. So the total is really a tough one, but you can see.
It is hard because Oklahoma's not fast. If
you
look at and then they've like, especially towards the end of the year, they run it a ton. But with injuries and suspensions, like Sermon is out, and with suspensions, like, and if they're playing from behind, they're not going to be able to play slow and run the ball the whole game, which makes it tricky. So I can't play this under unless it gets to like 80.
I mean, we just had the Hawaii Bowl the other night, and a total of 65. BYU got down by a ton, and that total shot up in the 90s, a live total. And I think you could see the same thing here. You get 24 to 28 first quarter points, you're going to be looking at a live total that's sitting around in the 90s. And I think that's probably the opportune time to fire away at an under. I can't imagine taking an under pregame. I'll put it that way.
Yep. Yeah. And the key thing to watch for me is how big of a game does Lamb have against the LSU defense, and how much does a healthier Delpit mean, right? So the LSU defense overall ranked 122nd defending pass explosiveness. But that number, their defense looked a lot better on the back end with a healthier Delpit towards the end of the year. But you could see Lamb have just a monster day here. That's the matchup I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, and I actually think Jalen Hurts is going to have a 25 to 30 carry day too. I think, LSU is excellent, like I said, in passes defense. If CeeDee Lamb can't get open, you're going to see Hurts running with the ball quite a lot. So it's going to be quite an interesting game.
I also think that both teams, Oklahoma more so than LSU, at least initially, will have to call this aggressively. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not, like, instead of punting, on a situation where you might normally punt, you got to go. You got to keep up. And you might not need to – there's 2 reliable field goal kickers here, but instead of a field goal, we got to go for it. So that could impact the total as well. The only other thing that I see that, LSU LSU doesn't have any rush. It doesn't have, LSU doesn't punt it well, but I don't think that matters one bit. I was looking at their punting numbers. I'm like, why am I looking at LSU's punting numbers? But
how many punts do they have this year? 5? There's not a lot of punts.
True. Yeah. All right. So make sure you check out the preview we have of that game because we'll have that covered.